And that is what we're dealing with now. Some of the issues that played up in Anambra were not things that INEC were not aware of in the time past. In fact, if you take the reports of most observer groups that had been involved in election observation exercise in the reruns that had taken place previously, you will find out that the things that were making a lot of noise about Anambra were not completely things that have not been put on the table of INEC. But they have been involved in what I call defensive public relations. They've been more in terms of the same kind of things they are doing now. Oh, it's not widespread. Oh, your reports cannot stand the test of. It's unstatistical in the sense that you talk about logistic challenges. It will happen in few places and all of that. So those are the things that we're dealing with now. Those things that we papered over, that we never dealt with, that we didn't confront head on, are the things that has come to show up strongly and has become a ridicule and shame for us as people who are involved in election issues.
Thank you for your thoughts there. But just to let's go back a bit. 2 days, 3 days before the election, we have some of the visuals, some of the pictures of the preparations as we caught them at the INEC office in Anambra, in Awka, the capital city of Anambra State. There, you'll be sure, those are some of the visuals of what really happened before the election started. Well, I'll give you a sense of the kind of preparations, because we're looking at lessons that we can get out of the Anambra experience ahead of some of the other polls that we're looking to in 2014 and in 2015, ultimately for the general election. Well, INEC seems to have, you saw some generators there. Those were the generators that were used in some parts of the state where they made sure that there was, if there were any form of power outage, the generators were there. Those are the materials. Wednesday, those materials were already there, received from CBN. What we usually see with INEC was that Friday, where the day you'll see the election. Well, before I show you some of the other statistics, let me give you an idea. It seems the wreck in Anambra was very sure, and it gives one a sense of the fact that INEC seems to have prepared their books. They seem to have crossed their T's and dotted their I's. But you want to ask the question again, what went wrong? Let's take a listen to the Anambra wreck, and we'll come back and discuss more. His confidence and his boldness of INEC's preparation. This was Wednesday prior to the Saturday of the election.
Polling officers, the presiding officers, presiding officers, the police officers, all of them will sleep at the super rack. Super rack is very close to the polling unit, so that 5 a.m. we leave the super rack and deploy at the polling unit. This way, all things being equal, we hope to be able to deploy as early as 7 o'clock in the polling unit before the commencement of poll. We are moving them under heavy police escort. We have the military, we have the Navy, we have the SSS, and have the civil defense. So we know the implication, we know the risk involved, but at the same time, we know that we can protect these materials. We have the will, and we are determined to protect them.
Mr. Edudika, you hear him. That's the 2-3 days before the election, the kind of confidence that is oozing out of the wreck. What can you take away from it?
Well, confidence oozing out doesn't necessarily translate to actually implementing what you say you will do. I mean, after all, Nigeria is full of wonderful policies and laws, but it's implementation and enforcement that have always been our problems. Having said that, the failure or the difficulties encountered in the last electoral process could not really be attributed solely to INEC. INEC only has its shortcomings. In fact, there are some other issues. For instance, they're bringing the register, another register 3 days before the election. These are issues that need to be really tackled. But somebody standing up and saying, I'm confident I'm going to move with military and all that, that does not translate to anything, because ultimately you find out that there are some areas that these materials didn't get to in time. But I told you that before 7 a.m. on Saturday, the 16th, that all the material will go to all the polling stations. But we found out that wasn't the situation. That wasn't the case. So he's having oozed confidence while addressing the press, and his conduct thereafter do not seem to match.
Interesting. There are a few things that INEC said they did differently in this particular election. Let's give you a sense of what some of the things INEC initiated or created in this particular process. Well, INEC says it received non-sensitive materials at about Wednesday or Thursday from the Central Bank of Nigeria. That was where the initial point where those materials were kept. And they deployed the non-sensitive materials as early as Thursday morning. You saw some of those materials in the earlier visual that we showed you. And introduction of super racks. They created super racks between the racks and the other racks so that the issue of logistics will be solved so that early deployment can take place. Those are some of the things INEC went to with in this particular election. Let me ask you again, do you think with all of this creativity, it doesn't really turn out for success in this process?
So the question should now be, what happened?
Yes.
If you made such preparations, such serious preparations, such creative preparations, and still material didn't get to where they ought to have got to in time, is that a case of sabotage? And if sabotage, by who? You are the person who was creative enough to determine what to do. Meanwhile, at the end of the day, these things didn't get to where they were supposed to get to. That actually seems to suggest that INEC was saying one thing and doing another.
Do you think INEC failed in Anambra election? In the 16th and the 17th conduct?
17th?
Yeah, there was an election in Obosi and
okay, that little one. Now, I wouldn't say they failed, because if you say they failed, that means you're scoring them like 39%. In this election, from my personal observation and information at my disposal, I would say it was a marginal pass.
Marginal pass, yes. to a pedestrian on the street. What in terms of percentage?
Given what I'll give them up to 65%.
So they tried.
Yeah, 60-65%.
All right.
They could have done better.
They could have done better. In what ways do you think they could have done?
First of all, whatever you may say about Chris Ngige and the PT2, Anambra State is one state that has a lot of roads. Practically, apart from Oka and some parts of Onitsha, you could run through Anambra State in a space of 2-3 hours. I mean, the whole of one person could drive through Anambra State within 2-3 hours. The whole of Anambra State.
So the question
of road network.
So the question of logistics shouldn't even
shouldn't have arisen. I don't understand why that arose. And I think we had very clear weather that day.